Okay, let's do a little bit of Collision here. There's a few things I got to cover first before we get to Collision. The first one is Bryan Danielson is out. He currently has an orbital bone break. It's right here. His orbital bone socket is broken. Now, it would be really bad of Okada doing this if it wasn't Orange Cassidy with an orange punch to his face that could have broke it. It was Okada, basically with two rainmakers to the face that broke the bitch. And I'm not trying to be mean to Bryan Danielson calling his eye socket a bitch, but you get my point. He's out for the rest of the year. And after just finding out that less than a month or so ago, that he is going to be done next year, that when his daughter turns, I believe, 8, because I think she's 7 now, I think. When she turns 8, he's retiring from the ring. I don't think he'll retire from wrestling permanently. I do believe he'll be a trainer, and he'll probably open up his own dojo. I don't think he's going to just go away from wrestling. He loves it too much. He'll probably work in a wrestling ring as a trainer, or he'll open his own dojo and do that. But he's not going in-ring activity anymore. He's done after next year. And now for the next couple of months, we don't got him because his eye socket is busted. Ugh. If it was Okada, I'm going like, dude, I got no problem you being strong style, yeah. But if you break the bone of the same guy twice, it can't be because the guy is just weak bone. It's because you put too much strength behind it and pretty much you hurt the guy twice if it was him. But there's no way of telling because it could have been an orange punch or it could have been the two rainmakers. I just don't know. The second one, I gotta say this. I know that NWA had a pay-per-view and I chose to do Collision because I wanted to see what was going on with MJF and Kenny Omega. So if I am going to be able to, I am going to do possibly a review tomorrow. I might do one. I don't know if I will, and I probably won't look at the kickoff show and do a review of that, but I probably will watch the main show. So I'm just saying it now, I might do a review of it. I'm just considering it right now. So just in case I do it. I don't know if I am. But let's get into the show. Let's go to the opening of AR Fox versus AJ White. It wasn't a bad match, and it's supposed to help Jay White look more better for their match at Full Gear, which I think is dumb now at this point. I'm saying it again. At this point, I think that damn match is dumb. I'm saying it now. I'm saying it right now. I think that match is now dumb. It's not the promos or anything, but I'll explain later. He wins, that Jay White. And the most interesting thing is MJF tries to steal the title back by wearing all black, jumps into the area, pulls his hood off, trying to grab it, instead of just grabbing it and not pulling the hood off and letting someone of the Bullet Club Gold doing it. He does it himself, and I'm going like, why? Why did he pull off his hood when he could have just grabbed it and tried to run, and they grab him, and they pull the hood off themselves, and I think that would have been more dramatic. But he does it, and I didn't find that effective. Next, a tag match for Bullet Club Gold's The Guns. So Bullet Club Gold stayed at the ringside. You see Juice Robinson still wrapped up. And now it's going to be Austin and Colton going against the boys and Dalton Castle's boys. Boys! I'll say this. Do I think Castle's funny? Yes. Do I think the boys are funny? Yes. Seeing him pull out some treats for his boys and go like that is stupid, but it's funny. But here's the thing. I have a problem here because we're seeing guys who are ROH on Collision. And if you're not going to take them off of ROH and stick them on Collision, that pisses me off. Because if they're jumping back and forth between ROH and Collision, and we don't see them often enough, I don't care. Look, the major thing they should be doing, ROH is developmental, even though they're not saying it. Collision is the lower tier show, and Dynamite's the main show. If you believe people are ready, stick them on Collision until they're ready to go over to Dynamite. But the way they do it, they just jump them everywhere. Does it sound familiar? does this tactic sound familiar like WWE? It's a dumb decision. I can understand they're trying to test them out to see. But Castle's been on Collision a couple of times. So is the boys. And then if they've already had a couple of times already, I'm sure. Since it started the last few months since they had it, in June they started, they've done at least a couple of times. I want to see Castle on Collision. I want to see the boys on Collision more. But they're just jumping them around once in a while. Let's move on. Because we already know that the Guns won. There was no way they weren't going to win. They did. The boys got destroyed quickly. Number 3. The match, I'm going like, I thought she wasn't employed anymore. And I had to go and look at my notes because I still have to remind myself, Abaddon is still on the damn roster. I'm looking at the name here and I have to remind myself, who the fuck is Abaddon? And I remembered when she was on Dark and Dark Elevation. And I'm going like, really? You pull Abaddon out of your ass now? When we haven't seen Abaddon for what? I don't even know how many months. I don't even remember the last time I saw her. Was it last year? Or was it almost the beginning of last year? I don't remember the last time I saw her. For me personally, you guys can say when you saw her. For me personally, I have not seen her for so long, I forgot. And they decided to use her in a Fright Night street fight with the current champion, Hiro Kushida, who decided to do Ada Wong. And that is from Resident Evil 4. Who doesn't love Ada? I mean, let me give it to you like this. Is Hiro Kushida pretty? Oh, hell yeah, she's a beautiful woman. Is she someone you can fall in love with physically? Yes, she is. But if you look at her compared to Ada Wong of Resident Evil, this is Sheeta. Pretty face. Little bit of boob. Little bit of hip. But she's cute. Then you got Ada, who's got a... looks like she's half American, half Japanese. That's the only way she's going to look right. Because that's the way she looks. She looks half Japanese, half American. That's where she gets her curves from. And she's not it. Taking nothing away from Cheetah. She tried to make that dress look good. And let's make it clear. She tried to look cute in that dress. But what she should have did was make the dress a bit short. Not trying to make her sexy. Just make it... her dress was too long. She should have made it a little bit short. She should have wore black colored boots, not white colored boots. I believe that threw the dress off as being all red. And when it comes to Wong, she wears a red dress. Strap on her leg. She should have kept the gun strap on her leg. She decided to take it off before the match. Instead of leaving the gun strap there, she takes it off. She's wearing white boots instead of black ones, which would set off the dress and make people really go like, damn, she does remind me of Ada Wong. She is Resident Evil. You tell me if I'm wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong. I may not play games much. It doesn't mean I didn't try out Resident Evil when it was around. And it doesn't mean I didn't fall in love with Ada myself, even though I was married. And if I had said that in front of my wife at the time, she said, oh, you want to fuck that piece of ass right there, you motherfucker? Yeah, she would have said that. And I'm not saying I wouldn't. I know she had Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. She was in love with that bastard. Because when I bought... A little story. When Final Fantasy VII first came out, not only when it came out, it wasn't in America yet. It was only in Japan. You know what I did for that woman? I went and found somewhere to get a modded PlayStation for Japanese games set up. I paid hundreds of dollars for that. I paid like $250 at the time, back in 1998 to 99. 97 to 98. That's when it came out in Japan. And I got it for her until she got the official one. And then I had to pay good money to buy Final Fantasy VIII after that. Because I bought a Final Fantasy VII, the fake ones first. That was from Japan until we got the original American version, which she played her ass off on it, where I was working my ass nearly 10 hours a day. And then she wanted the next one, and I had to pay a lot of money to get that one, which was... They didn't even have it yet in America. So I had to pay the Japanese version again for her to get the damn thing, which paid over $100. They get a fake burnt version of it because there was nowhere you can just find it. Even in downtown Chinatown, it was expensive shit back then. Yeah, it shows you how much I love my wife. And she would have said, fuck you, you messing with that woman. I'm sorry. All right, the reason I did this was I didn't care about Abaddon. I didn't care about her because I'd forgotten all about her. And when I realized less than about a minute or so, I remembered, oh, I know who she is. Less than a minute after she comes down from the ramp and standing in there, I'm going, Abaddon? Oh, her. Why is she there? And then I realized, oh, it's the Halloween theme. That's the reason when Sheeta came out dressed as Wong. And I'm going like, it's only a theme street fight, which I knew she wasn't going to lose. And I didn't care about Abaddon because I haven't seen it in so long. Why would I care or believe that it was going to be a fun match? Moving on. Match number 4. Joe against Red Titus for his title, just like Sheeta. I found this match a little more interesting than Sheeta's match. Not because I hated the street fight, no. I hated Abaddon, no. I just didn't care about Abaddon. This was for a legitimate title. I've seen Tyrus before because he's been on Impact Wrestling. They showed him a couple of times in RH. And I knew who he was. And I also saw him in NWA. More NWA than I saw him in Impact. How many times I saw him in Impact? Twice. How many times did I saw him in NWA? 5 times. I saw him 5. Including 2 pay-per-views. I saw him on Power 3 times. And then twice on 2 different pay-per-views. That's how much I was familiar with him. So I was more interested in this because at least I do remember him. He's been in AEW, he's been in Impact Wrestling, he's been in NWA. So it didn't bother me as much, even though I hadn't seen him in a long time. At least then I knew. Abaddon, I never knew much about her. They never really pushed her enough. So in the end, what do we get? We get Joe winning, which is his 17th match and now his 18th win. So we get that. Next, Dash Hardwood versus Ricky Starks. Now, let me give it to you like this. What can I say about this? It was not a bad match. No. It was a good match. But here's the thing. What does this really mean for Dash Wheeler? Now, mind you, from what I understand from a report, there might be a problem with something that happened in the hospital. I didn't check very thoroughly. It could be colon cancer, or it could just be there was something going on that he was getting checked. I don't know if he has it or not. You guys, you don't need to tell me below, because if I really wanted to know, I would look, but I didn't see anything. They did they did talk about it once on Dynamite, that he wasn't there. There was a report of him going into the hospital, but I don't know if it was for colon. So I don't know if it is or not. You don't have to tell me. I don't want to know. It's not necessary. But the question is for FTR, what now? FTR has done everything they can now in the company. You've given the titles to Big Bill and Ricky, but what now? It's a big question. I'm not sure what is supposed to happen. And then you get Rush's team, which is Elvive, I believe, Elvive, which has what was the guy? I forgot the guy's name. Is not Vaughn, but the other guy. What was his name? I forgot his name. The luchador there. I don't remember his name, so I don't know. And then you get the House of Black, and we see finally Malachi Black, which there were reports last month that Malachi requested to be released twice, and he was refused, and now he's on TV again. Now, I don't know if he showed up on Rampage, but there he is. And it's good to see him, but the question is going to be, if we had reports a month ago that he's having a problem with mental health problems and he's asked to be released, that was from Raj Giri. Raj Giri stated that. Now, I'm not saying that that information is incorrect. I'm hoping he's all right, because he's asking about being released due to the fact that his character's not been going well. And he feels, what was the report? That he felt frustrated and demoralized. That's Roger Geary putting that on one of his articles, if I read it correctly. And I'm going, what? Hopefully everything's been straightened out for him and something is going to happen. Or since this was a live show, what now for Malachi Black? Is he staying with the House of Black, or is this the only time we're going to see him? And even though we saw Julia Hart back from I believe she just got married and she just came back from her honeymoon. What now? And then we get QT Marshall briefly with the curvy woman, I can't remember her name, and Johnny AEW, I think. Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, Johnny whatever, Johnny Dynamite, Johnny Collision. I don't know what they're going to call him now. But I don't know. He's now a champion. What is he? A AAA international champion? And now he's going to be defending the title on TV against all luchadors. So that means we're going to have Rush. We're going to have Calistio. I believe that might be his name. We're going to have Serpentico. We're going to have now Andrade El Ilio, because he had an interview and he didn't want to get involved with Rush. And anyone else that is a luchador. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's okay. Okay, what else do we need to talk about? I think that is it. Let's make this clear. The last match of the night, Kenny versus MJF, was a damn good match. Kenny facing MJF was a match that had to main event. And seeing the MJF and his psychology is so well done. As I've always said, what makes a good wrestling match is an all-around match of psychology, maybe a bit of aerial, maybe a bit of ground and pound with psychology, just enough of all three to give a good story. MJF pulled out some stunts that he normally doesn't do. And that's good. It shows that he only uses stuff when he needs to. He tricked the Kenny saying sportsmanship. He does shake his hand and then pops him in the eye, raises his arms, and makes it very clear that he can cheat because he's a damn scumbag. But he's a good guy scumbag. And the way he was working, the way he was acting, he was working like an MJF who basically could act any way he wants, but was going to take a beating because he went through a damn table, which I was scared that he could have gotten his neck jacked. Oof, that was terrifying, that he almost looked like he might have jacked his freaking neck. If he had jacked his neck, I was so upset. But he went through that table, and the major problem with that spot, and I know everyone's going to talk about this spot, saying it was insane. I wish he hadn't done it, because when Kenny was trying to lift him up, he just barely had the angle right, because he almost had him as low as his abdomen. And understand, if he goes through the table while he was near his abdomen, his neck, instead of being like this, would be like that. Luckily, and I think I got a shot of it, I'm not going to put it on the screen. But pretty much, I had to see it myself. When they did the replay, I managed to capture the shot. His neck was straight like this. So I'm going like, okay. His neck didn't look jacked like this. So that's a good thing. The match lasted only up to 10 o'clock, and MJF managed to retain, and then they shook hands, and they basically respected one another and gave each other a hug. But why here? Why here? Why here? When this should be at Full Gear. Let's make this clear. Does it make sense for Kenny Omega to be having a match here before Full Gear? No. Should this had happened at Full Gear? Yes. Should they have gotten this over with when it came to with him and Jay White a while ago, and then he can go through Samoa Joe, and then he could go through Kenny after that? That would have made more better sense than this, because this match needed to be at Full Gear. I'm sure people are going to say this was such a great match, this made the show. Well, it would have made Full Gear a better show. I'm sorry. I'm not a big pop guy. I'm not a big guy that likes high spots and high impact every time. I like psychology in my match. And when it came down to it, MJF has psychology. He knows how to do it. And Kenny may not always do it, but when he needs to, he can do it. He can give you at least a little expression psychology-wise, showing a little crazy eye. And that is something I think should have been at Full Gear. And we're not getting it now because the match is over. The match is over. Why am I going to care now? Because it's done. Unless Jay White gets hurt. What do we got here? Nothing. Nothing. What a waste. Ugh. I believe it would have helped Full Gear immensely, but this is just me. And I hope you enjoy this collision. Please leave a comment below. And I'll see if I'm going to check if I can see a repeat of NWA's pay-per-view. I don't even know what the name of it is, but I might check it out. Peace.